Going live. You're live. Good morning, everybody on YouTube land. If you're watching this for the first time, and it's a replay for you, you can skip ahead about 10, 11 minutes, okay? And if it isn't, and if you're live with me, well, just deal with it. Have a little fun with me. What is Jason Wright's number? Should give it out to everybody on the World Wide Web. Probably not. Let's see. Hope it's going. I hope we spend all day getting on and off rain showers. I'd be just damn happy with that. You're connected and entered channel. User connected. Okay, good. Good morning. Stations, good to see you guys with this morning. Stations, if you're having me in queue and you're listening. Hey, Chuck Hansen, good morning. Good that you're listening to as well. I have some thunder showers going through the ranch right now, on and off. So there's quite a little bit of lightning going with this. If for some reason I get power lost or anything like that, I do have a backup generator that'll kick in. And if that happens, I'll just connect with everybody like we did before. So I'll just do that as fast as I can if it happens. Morning, Todd Mitchell. Good to see you're with me. I hope you caught that. If I lose power because of lightning this morning, I have a backup generator, but that takes 10, 15 seconds for it to kick on, and I'd have to reboot all this stuff here. So if that happens, hopefully it'll be a smooth transfer back into getting back on air. So there you go. Let's call GW up. Let's clear my throat first. There. Get that morning waking up groggy crap out of my throat here. There it is. Just those dial tones. You could do that with the radio.
Jason speaking.
Jason, Scott Bachmeyer. Good morning.
Hey, Scott. How's it going?
Good. You're live on YouTube right now, so just to let you know.
Oh, fantastic. I love being alive on YouTube.
Alive!
That's great. I spent a lot of time on YouTube in the last 8 weeks.
Have you?
Oh, yes. I would get up at 5:30 in the morning and do a morning greeting video every single day for my students.
Nice.
It actually was,
Very
as
cool.
crazy as it sounds, it gave me I've always been the one that needed an alarm clock to wake up for whatever reason. Yeah. And as soon as the distant learning started, it seemed like I was awake at 5:20 and jumping up, and I'd spend about an hour and a half doing a video and editing it and uploading it to YouTube and posting it on my online classroom. And it gave me, felt like I was doing something.
Gave you a mission is what it gave you.
It did. And it was crazy. And then this past Monday, I was back to sleeping until 7:30, 8 or whatever time it was. It was kind of weird.
Just remember, if you sleep until 7 o'clock, it's still 6 o'clock my time.
That's true. So that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Those of us that the 3 counties over here that are holding on to Mountain Time Zone, man.
That's right. So technically, I was getting up at 4:30 your time then.
There you go. 4:30. Yeah.
It was kind of definitely a strange situation.
Say, very quick, if I lose power with you or anything, because we have some lightning. Some storms coming through my area right now. So finally we get some rain, but right now it's badly. Not too bad, but they're spotty. But when they're coming through, they do have some lightning. So if I lose power and I have to call you back, it's just, I'll get back in touch with you.
Yeah, I can handle that.
Work. Just, I have a backup.
Well, that's good.
I have a backup generator, but it does take a little bit of time for that to click in. And I'm sure my computer and everything will go down for a shot. You know.
Well, I hope you get some rain. I hope you don't get lightning, but yeah, boy, we all do, isn't it? It's crazy. You need a little bit of rain that has moved our direction. It seems like it completely splits. Not that there's been much to worry about, but I mean, it just, we need it bad.
Yeah, it's, it looks okay here in the Badlands right now, but those Jesus last couple weeks of wind. Holy balls sacks,
Oh
man.
man.
It doesn't take
Yeah,
long
no
to dry
kidding.
out, you know.
No, and there's probably enough moisture to make it a few days here, you know, and green things up. But we need more than what's left on the ground right now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, no, things look good out this way too. It's just that we need the rain. You know,
Yeah.
the countryside looks nice and green at the moment, but it's only going to last so long if we don't get some rain. And it sounds like I think today. Well, I suppose what you're getting, we maybe get.
Yeah,
we
it's
might
headed
get
your
this.
way.
Yeah. So
according to
I
the
think
radar on the app that I'm using, I guess.
yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. It seems like lately I haven't been paying as much attention to weather. I didn't need to. I just look out my office window and I can see a flag, and or the sky or the sun rising or not rising. So
yeah,
I need to get caught back up. Of course, now with the school ending and summer starting, I'll be back to not paying attention to what day it is again. So
you still have stuff you have to do in the summertime as teachers, don't you?
Yeah. In fact, I've been the last hour and a half. I've been doing some school stuff right now. There are classes that we can take and things like that. And this year there'll probably be more online type of stuff, which actually is not a bad deal. And I'm on a 9-month contract, but yeah, there's different things that we get together and do. There's stuff we have to do to prepare for next year and things like that. And we'll actually get paid per hour to do it. So it's an incentive for those of us that are on a 9-month contract,
right?
And the money's actually pretty good, so it's worth it to do it. And if we can do it online, it'd be a good deal.
Is there continuing education for teachers that you have to be required to hold up to?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think it's every 5 years in order to get our certificate, our license. Now there are some teachers, but we're probably phasing some of those teachers out that may have had like a lifetime certificate, no different than like my wife's an occupational therapist. She has to keep her certificate up, and there are so many credits that we have to take and stuff. And it's one of those things. Most of us don't like going back to school. So it's the procrastination of getting it done.
I don't miss it. If I'd have to go back, I wish I knew what I know now back then, but I don't miss it. I really don't.
No, I don't miss. I wasn't the best student, but that may have helped me to be an understanding teacher. I think I can.
It's a good way of looking at it.
Well, and I think it's awesome. I think it's true. I don't brag that how could I say that? I had the love of the outdoors really caused me a lot of trouble throughout the years, and it probably still does, and it still will. I make choices that I probably shouldn't because the outdoors pulls me into that direction. So it's no different than kids that maybe have a love for the outdoors or farming, ranching, gaming, sports. So when other people, even parents or teachers, don't understand why they aren't paying attention, well, I can kind of understand that part because I was addicted badly. I skipped school at times to go fishing or hunting, and it definitely caused a lot of stress in my life. But
did the school still let the opening of deer season off? I mean, that was a forgivable day back when I went to school.
It's been a lot of years. In fact, when I started teaching about 23 years ago, we usually had conferences at least a half a day on the opening of deer season. We'd have conferences like Thursday night and then half the day. Now, back then, the problem was we did not get a whole lot of dads to show up.
Shocker.
Well, exactly. Now, today, if we were to have them the night before deer season, it doesn't seem to have that type of effect. Parents, dads will show up. Something is, but there are places throughout our state that do have that Friday off, and we have had it off in the past. It's been a while. Boy, it's been a long time. Maybe once or twice we did, and once it was basic. Mandan public schools, they might. I do know there are some other smaller school districts that probably do, and I know there are some states that do.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we're coming up here on the show start time, so stand by here. I'm going to turn you down, and I'm going to give a station update here. Stations coming at you in 30 seconds on Mark. 30 seconds. YouTube, stand by. 15 second stations on mark. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome once again to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. I'm Scott Bachmeyer, and I'm broadcasting once again from the bunkhouse. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see there's a coyote behind me. Had to block a little bit. I had to do a TV interview in Texas, and they said there was too much light coming in. They said, is there any way you can block the light from behind you? I said, yeah. I just threw up one of my dead coyotes. So there you go. A little bit of rain showers here in the Badlands this morning. So once again, if there's a lightning strike that puts me out, I have a backup generator. We'll be back right on. So just stick with us here. More than welcome to see these rain showers coming through the Badlands. Hope everyone else takes a little time this weekend. Remember those who gave their lives serving in the military. For some, it's a long weekend. But for a lot of us, we take time to remember why you're getting that long 3-day weekend. Also going on today, Sagebrush R&P Club Military and Lever Action Match. That's happening in Trails City. Next weekend, it will be in the Moffat area. Good luck to those competing in that match. As branding season is in full swing, hey, I want to give a shout out to everybody listening that has invited me to their branding, and good luck to those still needing to get it done, like me. I hope the weather holds out for you, thanks to the farmer, rancher, anybody in the agricultural community providing the best beef and food in the world, even though we're seeing some of the tough times in the markets. On a high note, though, Jason Wright is my guest today from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV. And good morning to you, Jason. How are you this fine morning?
Scott, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I haven't really stepped outside a whole lot, but it's wonderful to hear that we might have some rain coming from your direction to our direction in the easterly motion, which, as you already stated, we could all use it. But no, I'm doing really good.
Should I pretend to be a meteorologist and give my weather forecast?
You sure can try, because I do the same thing in my classroom. When the kids ask about things, I just usually kind of hold my finger up and explain, what the weather's going to be like. Some of them are really amazed several days later how I knew that. But it's, others just kind of look around thinking, yeah, okay, he just looked it up. It's not that hard. But
so right now, beat all the radio stations I'm on here, KGFX in Pierre, South Dakota, Pierre and Fort Pierre. We got KOLY in Mobridge, KLTC in Dickinson, of course, K-Fire in Bismarck. And up in Minot, KCJB is where I cut my teeth in the radio side of things. And I'm not sure if it's like this before, but KCJB's studio was just down the hall from the TV station side of things. And when I was going through college up there in Minot, I attempted one time to do the weather forecast and fill in, and it was a complete disaster on TV. I'll tell you that. Not a meteorologist.
I'm not sure that'd be, the meteorology piece of that. I suppose there could be some parts that are interesting, but as far as me doing it, I'm not sure. Maybe radio would be okay, but if I was on TV, I'd be a total mess.
Well, that was where there was a guy. The weather guy's name was Eric at that time. I remember him. He gave me a lot of great advice, but the biggest piece of advice he said is, Scott, you got the face for radio. Stick with go down the hall and stay down there. He said.
Sometimes I'm just not good enough at multitasking when it comes to doing the weather. I could probably do some sort of news, but if I had to do the weather, I'd probably mess it up somehow, some way. My hands would be going all over the place.
Well, as a school teacher, a lot of people might not know that. What do you teach in school? What's your forte?
Well, it's the past. I've been teaching it here in Bismarck for 23 years, and it's been 6th grade all 23 years.
Okay.
And the past 7 years, I moved into the middle school, because here in Bismarck, we were one of the last school districts in the state, I believe, to move our 6th graders up into the middle school and our 9th graders up into the high school. And I think it was a really good, successful move. I'd say the majority of 9th graders were ready to go into the high school, and I'd say the majority of 6th graders belong in the middle school. Obviously, there are some exceptions. And prior to that move, I was asked, along with 2 others in Bismarck, to create a course called Digital Literacy. And this was 7 years ago. Now, the world of technology is kind of like a freight train with rocket boosters. It goes quickly. And so back then, it was basically about how to be safe online, everything about the digital world, the safeties, the dangers, how to communicate in the digital world, social media, how to appropriately use social media, how social media can affect your day today and next year and 10 years down the road. So it was kind of a big deal. Back then, 7 years ago, sixth graders could hardly turn on a computer. Now, my sixth graders, back then who are now graduating might say different, but it was true. And now today's sixth graders will come into the beginning of the school year in August, and it's amazing what they know. And so the class has changed a little bit. It's grown, and I think we need to make some more changes in it, because back then it was like the greatest thing ever to come to my class, because there was all this new stuff, this new world, this digital world that they knew very little about. Well, now, today's 11 and 12-year-olds, this is not new anymore to them. And so it's different, but it's been good. Probably the most difficult piece for a digital literacy teacher in Bismarck is there are only 3 of us. There's one at each middle school. It's a required class. It's a full year. So this year I had 350 students all year long. Whereas the average middle school teacher probably will have 120 students all year, or maybe a few more than that. But so it's different. It's fun. There's going to be some changes probably taking place down the road. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Well, as somebody that, you have an Ultimate Outdoors Adventures TV show, and you don't usually see a lot of people that partake in the hunting and the fishing and the shooting and the archery and be a school teacher at the same time. Do you ever have kids ask you questions, or how do you portray that? Do you bring it into the kids and bring the outdoors into your classroom?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm a storyteller. Over the years, I'm going to be honest, I've had administrators that didn't always like me to teach through stories.
Right.
And I've thankfully that the last 7 years, and prior to that too, probably the last 15, but for the last 7 for sure, I do. I teach a lot through stories. I've always been intrigued with Native Americans and other cultures who used to teach more through storytelling. Right. Because, as you and I were talking earlier, my love for the outdoors, and if somebody were to relate my interest and then, use those examples and teach through those examples and those stories, I would listen. And kids are no different. We are no different. If somebody's going to tell me a good story, and it's not made up, but it's an adventure. It doesn't matter what. It could be about banking. It could be about anything. But if I can tell that you're telling me a story or something that you've done in your life and that you have passion for it, I can tell. If you're just blowing smoke and making it up, I'm not going to listen to you. I've been to many of those seminars before when somebody says he talks the talk, and we talk about this in school. I try learning to be had in those. And I remember I had one student probably 20 years ago. I'm not going to mention his name. He still lives around here. One of the brightest young people I've ever been around before. And he texted me. I think we had MSN Messenger or something when he graduated from high school back then, something like that, And all I know is that my computer would ding and I'd go running to it because it'd be something interesting on there. This was a long time ago. Anyway, he sent me a message, and maybe he's listening. Who knows? And he said, "Mr. Wright, I had no idea why you were telling us these stories. They didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make sense to me why you would tell these stories." But then at the end of the message, he said, "But today, I remember every single one of those, and I appreciate every one of those stories because now I understand the point."
Yeah.
Well, so that was kind of cool.
You bet. We're up against our first break. More stories coming your way, and we're going to do this right here on Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Stay tuned. Jason Wright from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures on Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio. Back after these. The first annual Urlacher Angus Spring Sale is coming up Monday, June 1st, 1 p.m. Mountain Time at the Bowman Auction Market, offering 25, 18 to 24-month-old bulls never before offered for sale. Sires include Monin Renown 2747, Midi Natural, Musgrave Stunner 316, and many more. 90-day breeding season guarantee, free delivery, and the bulls will be fertility tested. For more information, find them on Facebook at Urlacher Angus and Sales. The first annual Urlacher Angus Spring Production Sale, June 1st, 1 p.m. Mountain Time time at the Bowman Auction Market. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo-Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
Hi, this is Andy Murdoch with Piper's Auctioneers, inviting you to any one of these exceptional upcoming online equipment auctions, also featuring lots of guns and ammo, and also hobby farm equipment and antique toy tractors near Rolette, North Dakota. Piper's is also featuring farm retirement and estate auctions in Bismarck, Tuttle, Robinson, Belfouche, and Dagmar. For full inventory and online bidding on dozens of land and equipment auctions throughout the upper Midwest, log on to Pipers.com.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust provides ag loans for all stages of growth, from seed to harvest. Our expert agribusiness lending staff specializes in loans for livestock, equipment, vehicles, and operating. With our roots in agribusiness lending, you can be assured that our lending staff will provide you with prompt and reliable service. In other words, our ag loan officers will always keep your best interests in mind. Stop by your local Dakota Community Bank and Trust today. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. We want amazing innovations to drive progress for generations. We want jobs and careers for generations. We want American energy production that protects our land and the wildlife for generations. Today, the advanced technologies deployed by the North Dakota oil and gas producers are making that happen. And with the promise of emerging technologies, the energy of North Dakota has a very bright future for generations to come. This message is brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Council. To learn more, visit energyofnorthdakota.com.
Your home isn't just your biggest investment, it's where you live and where you love. Dakota Community Bank and Trust makes it easy and convenient to find the best loan program and most current rates available. Whether you were house shopping as a first-time buyer, thinking about new construction, refinancing your mortgage, or remodeling, we offer the assistance of an experienced live mortgage officer. You can find our mortgage team through bricks or clicks, in person or online, anytime at dakotacommunitybank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo-Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down, and when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back to Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Good to have you along here this morning. Music from Breaking 8. My buddy Benny Paulson up in that Killdeer area. If you look for more information, you can find Breaking 8 all across iTunes and Spotify and the whole works. If you have one of these smart speakers, you can tell Alexa or the Google to play it, and they will. It's good stuff, and I thank him for allowing me the permission to use that music on here. Oh, we have Jason Wright from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV. And Jason, we were talking about telling stories to learn in the school side of things, but when it comes to the hunting and fishing side, that's what we have is that story. I mean, once the hunt is done and you guys portray it as on your television show, you show the story. I try to do it on the radio side of things here, but that's what we do. We live for these stories.
It is, and for me, it is a big deal. It's kind of ironic that you bring that up because this doesn't have to do with video necessarily, but it has to do with pictures. For me, taking pictures is a really big deal, and it's never been to show off any type of success, but it tells an amazing story, I think. And I posted some pictures of a recent fishing trip, and a friend of mine said something about really like the pictures, and I kind of jokingly replied back, or he said that he appreciated the backgrounds, they're really cool. And I usually will try to pick a good background. And it irritates me if I can't get a good picture. And it isn't always the subject or the fish or the game. It's just kind of the whole deal. And sometimes I'll take 150 pictures to get a decent one, and there's a lot of people appreciate, because we were kind of joking around a little bit. How about, it seems like, well, I won't say the age necessarily, but you'll see fish or game pictures out there where people will cross out the background because, heaven forbid, somebody recognizes where that picture was taken. And to be honest with you, it's fine, okay. Yeah. But if I were to, to be real honest, it takes, I don't know. I feel I owe it to the fish or the game, whether I'm releasing a big walleye or it's an antelope. To me, that's the way I was raised. So that's my dad. And that's a big deal. Now, ironically, my dad, the last thing he ever wants to do is either take a picture or be in a picture. He can't stand it. When I catch a big fish and I say, we're going to take a picture, it's like, oh, no, please no. Because he knows this is a process, But whether it's video, radio, you're right. Because I'm not the guy that's going to whip out my phone to go through 100 pictures and show somebody that I don't know, because it's just not my thing. But it is kind of fun to be sitting someplace and just looking at them and kind of laughing. I was just doing it the other day, looking back at some pictures, and it's goofy ones. Yeah. There was one where we were fishing up in Lake Michigan, and a buddy was coming out of the market with some food and some cases of beer, and it was just a random picture that I took, and it's like, wow, that was a great trip. Yeah.
Well, you talk about things in the hunting side of things and fishing. You always talk about electronics and how the technology has improved that. And the one thing that we don't talk about is the photos. I mean, you think about way back when I first started hunting. I mean, we had a point and snap camera, and you had 35 millimeter film, and nowadays, I mean, you can take thousands of photos and cycle through them and edit them right there on your phone.
You can, and it's kind of, crazy is the amount of time that a person can spend on it. A buddies and I will be coming back from wherever. It could be an antelope trip. It could be a Canadian trip. And sometimes whoever's not driving, if you're the person that's into that kind of thing, not everybody is, and that's okay too. But that person will go through pictures the whole drive home, and you might be editing some things. You're right. Might be removing a background or something and that kind of thing, or touching it up or making it look better. Or Kurt was showing me the other day, you can remove the sky from a picture. And that was really, not that it was pretty cool. He caught his biggest walleye ever up in Canada. Well, you talked to Kurt about that, I guess, earlier. Yeah. And one of the pictures, the sky, it's a bad sky. And what I mean by that is it was a dreary sky. So the fish just didn't stand out very good in that particular picture. Well, he pushed it. We were eating supper that night. He said, look at this. And I was like, I said to him, I don't remember the sun being out like that. He's like, oh, it's a new little app. And I said, what? Yeah, he said, you just click here, and I was like, that is really cool, and I don't know if it's cheating or lying, but it's like, well, that was kind of interesting. Now, for the love of me, I cannot figure out what app he was using. So you're right, though. There's been times where I thought technology was going to take away, and the only thing it's taken away is it allows hunters and fishermen access to areas that maybe were more primitive and secretive. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There really are no secrets out there anymore. I was thinking that I was on the water yesterday, and I was looking at certain boats thinking, it's very interesting. I've been fishing this body of water for all my life, and I've never really seen people fish there before. But I know how they're there and why they're there, because without today's mapping, they wouldn't know about that
Right.
certain situation. Not that it's a great thing, but it was just one of those little hideouts that not many people knew about. But yeah.
So where
So
you
it's,
been? Where you been hanging your fishing pole lately? Just right on the Missouri or what?
You know, well, I had been fishing the river a little bit. I didn't fish the river a lot this year, and it's unfortunate because my personal belief is this was the best spring fishing on the Missouri River from Bismarck to probably south. Well, let's just say 30 miles south and 10 miles north of Bismarck. This is probably the best walleye fishing that I think we've seen since the early 2000s. Now, some of the younger anglers out there probably don't remember that, but it was incredible. Now, I chose not to fish the sections of the river that were probably the best because I fished alone the few times I went out. So I chose to go to a place that had fewer people, fewer trailers, and it was easier to put a boat in by yourself. But wow, yeah.
Now, when you're talking the best fishing, okay, are you talking numbers or are you talking size of the
you're right.
walleye?
I should explain that. I'm going to say both.
Okay.
I'm going to say both. Number one, the average size, let's say earlier on. Now this is post spawn, so that's before the walleye spawn takes place. So let's say end of March and through April, especially south of Bismarck, the numbers of 18 to 21, 18 to 22 inch fish were incredible. I mean, we're not talking all-time highs here. We're not even close to that, but we're talking great. And I personally have not seen that many where that many anglers could go out and catch that many. And the numbers of 25 inch to 27, 28 inch. So these are, 4 to 8 pound fish that were caught. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of things. And it was 2011 that really caused a lot of these problems to occur when the river flooded. It caused a lot of things. And there's a lot of things. I'm like the outdoors. I'm addicted to this Missouri River too. I love reading about it. I've gone through 100-page documents on this river since the flood, and most people would never read this because it's extremely boring. But to me, it's interesting. It's like a story, about how the bottom contours have changed, the sand. A lot of things have happened, and so, but these numbers of fish are looking good. They're crazy healthy. We still don't have the same type of fishing that we had prior to the flood. It's different. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of younger people, a lot of people that got into fishing since, let's say, 2010. The late 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, fishing was insane, on this Missouri River. It was a world-class fishery. I think it's still world-class. It's just different, Whereas Lake Sakakawea now, that we're talking world class here. We're talking incredible fishery from Williston to Pick City, the entire stretch, the lake and the river. We're talking the highest numbers of walleyes that reservoir has ever seen since it was built. We have more bait fish. It is incredible how this lake has made it through now this many years, because I'm 46 years old, and growing up, it was always fun to get to the lake the first time in early May or late April to see how low it was or how high it was. It was fluctuating crazy. And when that would happen, it would drop so far that after a summer or two, we'd lose our bait fish. You lose your bait fish, you're going to lose. It's a domino effect. And there's nothing nobody can do about it. It's Mother Nature. But right now, that lake has been high for so many years, and it's stayed up there that it's a crazy place to go right now. The fishing is crazy good.
See, now
we're very fortunate.
You're getting me all excited for my summer fishing trips that I'm already planning up here. Hey, hang on, Jason. We got more coming up this way on the second side of the program as we go up against our sponsor break once again. Hey, more with Jason Wright from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV. You're listening to KFYR, or you're listening to KCJB, KLTC, KOLY, and KGFX. We'll be back right after these messages. The first annual Urlacher Angus Spring Sale is coming up Monday, June 1st, 1 p.m. Mountain Time at the Bowman Auction Market, offering 25, 18 to 24-month-old bulls never before offered for sale. Sires include Monin Renown 2747, Midi Natural, Musgrave Stunner 316, and many more. 90-day breeding season guarantee, free delivery, and the bulls will be fertility tested. For more information, find them on Facebook at Urlacher Angus and Sales. The first annual Urlacher Angus Spring Production Sale, June 1st, 1 p.m. Mountain Time at the Bowman Auction Market. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
Hi, this is Andy Murdoch with Piper's Auctioneers, inviting you to any one of these exceptional upcoming online equipment auctions, also featuring lots of guns and ammo, and also hobby farm equipment and antique toy tractors near Rolette, North Dakota. Piper's is also featuring farm retirement and estate auctions in Bismarck, Tuttle, Robinson, Belfouche, and Dagmar. For full inventory and online bidding on dozens of land and equipment auctions throughout the upper Midwest, log on to Pipers.com.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust provides ag loans for all stages of growth, from seed to harvest. Our expert agribusiness lending staff specializes in loans for livestock, equipment, vehicles, and operating. With our roots in agribusiness lending, you can be assured that our lending staff will provide you with prompt and reliable service. In other words, our ag loan officers will always keep your best interests in mind. Stop by your local Dakota Community Bank and Trust today. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. We want amazing innovations to drive progress for generations. We want jobs and careers for generations. We want American energy production that protects our land and the wildlife for generations. Today, the advanced technologies deployed by the North Dakota oil and gas producers are making that happen. And with the promise of emerging technologies, the energy of North Dakota has a very bright future for generations to come. This message is brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Council. To learn more, visit energyofnorthdakota.com.
Your home isn't just your biggest investment, it's where you live and where you love. Dakota Community Bank and Trust makes it easy and convenient to find the best loan program and most current rates available. Whether you were house shopping as a first-time buyer, thinking about new construction, refinancing your mortgage, or remodeling, we offer the assistance of an experienced live mortgage officer. You can find our mortgage team through bricks or clicks, in person or online, anytime at dakotacommunitybank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Mo Rest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer. All right, stations, 15 seconds.
But don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition continues via Some of the best broadband in anywhere in the nation. Thanks, Consolidated Communications, and thank your rural broadband companies for doing what they do. In fact, during this COVID-19 thing, guess what all the rural broadband companies did in North Dakota? That's right. They got a list from the teachers and went out and gave free broadband to any household that did not have that. So that's one thing that your rural broadband companies are doing each and every day. Jason Wright, I'm sure you had a few people in your area that probably didn't. You had to work with some of the broadband companies too, didn't you?
Oh, for sure. And thankfully, you and I were talking earlier also about how our young people have come so far. Oh boy, I tell you what, thankfully our young people were at a spot where they could do a lot on their own. And yes, there's a lot of people, a lot of homes out here and everywhere that did not have internet.
Yeah.
And so you're right. And without that, and they came in and they worked fast. We're talking within a week. I think that most families in Bismarck, and we're a big school district, but I think most families that needed it, I think within a week they had it.
Well,
and I think it was pretty amazing.
You darn right. And we had, that's one thing the companies did is I was shocked too, because the schools are the one that contacted and gave the information to the broadband company saying, we have X amount that are connected and X amount that aren't. And I was shocked too, because when I was serving as a board of director for our company, when I saw the numbers, I was like, I didn't expect to see that many people not have any broadband service to their house. So, especially having kids, you think you have kids, they're going to need broadband eventually. So,
yeah. Well, but I think maybe I'm wrong on this too, but I know a lot of people and friends that, unless they do some type of job where they need a computer at home, let's say, they probably don't necessarily need it. But like you said, if you have kids and I don't know.
And if they have good cell phone coverage,
exactly,
they probably use that. That's true. But
yeah,
you were talking.
My kids needed too. So
yeah,
go ahead.
You and I were talking about, you were talking about fishing, on Lake Sakakawea. Now, the phone number to call in if you have any Lake Sakakawea stories, because that was built in the 50s, I believe. Is that right?
I'd have to go back. I was just looking at that too. Somebody had posted some information and pictures of Lake Sakakawea and the Garrison Dam as it was being built. And so then I went back and just in the past couple months researched it. And the pictures are awesome to look at. They are so cool to see the Lake Sakakawea on the north side of the dam with nothing but a creek channel. The pictures are phenomenal. So if you have any interest in that, and I know that there was some homes and families that did lose homes.
There were two towns, I believe, two small community towns that got flooded. And I think a lot of the structure is still down there, I would believe.
Anything that could possibly be standing, yes. And but it's amazing. That lake is really amazing. And I think that this year we might see, and maybe I'm going to be wrong on this, we could see record numbers of people this summer using that lake, the entire portion of it from Williston all the way down to the other end. I just have a feeling that people are going to be taking advantage of the recreation and staying closer to home this year. I saw a lot of that yesterday. I don't think I've seen so many vehicles, campers and boats heading out. I understand it's Memorial Weekend, but still, I saw way more activity than what I was expecting to see. In fact, I saw the same thing last weekend already, which is good. It's our lake. We've got Devil's Lake, Lake Sakakawea, we got Lake Audubon, there's Lake Ashtabula. There's so many little lakes that are doing so well right now, and thankfully, it's going to provide, I think, some great outdoor opportunities for families. We're lucky right now to be living in North Dakota, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. 800 or 800. It always goes through my mind. My number is 888-932-5682. That's 888-9-Dakota. If you want to call in and talk a little history with Jason Wright here on this. I had Brent Kimnitz on last Saturday from Mobridge. He guides on Lake Oahe, and he said the same thing there too. The Lake Oahe, that system is doing just gangbusters.
Yes.
So when 2011, when that flood came through, I mean, that was destructive from all the way from Minot all the way down through South Dakota into Nebraska. I mean, that changed a lot of the system. Do you think every once in a while Mother Nature does that to refresh everything up? I mean, what's your take on this? Did it help? Did that flood help this fishery, or did it set it back for too many years?
I'm going to say that it set it back. Probably now portions of it, like Lake Sakakawea, for example, it's doing so good. It didn't affect that lake, 9 years later or X amount of years later. What it did immediately was because they had to open the spillway up the way it did, and they had to open up everything was opened up so terribly bad, and wide open, the smelt went through. Okay. And so when the smelt and the salmon went through, of course, it just kept washing it right on through. And so there's where we lost bait fish. But Lake Sakakawea has recovered. And not only did it recovered to a point that it's just absolutely amazing. And now back to Mother Nature, though. I'm going to say, yes, Mother Nature plays. People always want to blame the Game and Fish for managing this Missouri River system. But I'm going to say that it's not that easy, okay? Because like you said, and as I was growing up, Lake Sakakawea would be on the rise, and all of a sudden we go through 3 years of drought. Then it would drop. Now, where that was really beneficial to a lake like Sakakawea is when it rose and then it dropped like that for, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, vegetation, cottonwood trees, everything, clover would grow from the water level all the way up the shoreline, right? So then if that lake would come back and rise just like 3, 4, 5 feet the next year, maybe 3 feet the next year, you can use that vegetation, which is so important to fish like perch, northern pike. So our northern pike population is not as high as it was, let's say, in 2012, 2013, because they really rely on that vegetation. And so now with Lake Sakakawea, for example, staying at these high levels for so many years, that lake used up the vegetation immediately when it came up, and it's been up high for so long. Right now, so for example, 1852 is pushing the limits. 1854, these are sea levels now, elevation levels. 1854, we're going over. 1852, we're going to get concerned. They might open up the gates. We're at 1840 right now. And as you know, last year we were over 1850. The spillway gates were open, and so it's now the Missouri River system from let's say Washburn, North Dakota, down towards Lake Hawaii. Sure. It has affected the river in a way that it's not coming back the way that we had hoped. Now, I said fishing's the best I think it's been in many years. I also grew up fishing this in the 80s, and so I went through all these cycles. But where I see a lot of problems is where there was sand, when that flush came through, and that was not Mother Nature, it was us, people. When we sent that water through, it was like you took a tool and just scraped off a lot of the bottom, and it left mud and it left clay, and then when the river went down and we stopped those flows, it dropped sand piles that are like dunes out there. So we've got a lot of sand. It's different. The river's different. I don't know that we're going to see it come back to the way it was prior to the flood. Can the fishing be great? Yes. Is it going to be the same prior to 2010? I don't know. It's just, it's where we really see the difference to me is from Washburn to Bismarck and maybe just a little bit south. It's just different. The channels are different. The fish don't stay around certain areas like they used to. And I think that has to do with habitat that was lost. And above the water surface, you can't see that. So part of it is just me thinking this. I could be totally wrong. Yeah. But
when you think of going out on the Missouri River, like you said, from Washburn down to Lake Hawaii, when you're going to a stretch like that, what do you look for if you're targeting walleye? What type of structures? Because the Missouri River, even before the flood, I mean, that the sandbars and everything changed because it is a fast flowing river. But what do you try to figure out where you're going to go to get the best chance of getting some walleye? I mean, what structure or jetties?
Well,
or what are you looking at here?
There's always going to be the rock jetties. Rock jetties were built to protect something. So those are always there. Those can always be great places. You're looking for areas where you can get out of the current, okay, where you might have fast moving current coming by one side of the boat, and the boat can be sitting in an area with very little current. Those fish will come into an area behind a sandbar, let's say, and it needs to be the right setup. It needs to be an area where there's some deeper water, maybe leading into this, where it's kind of what you want to call a travel corridor, and where these fish can just swim into it. They can rest, and you'll have bait that'll come by in the current. The bait might move into the area with less current, and the fish will sit there and they'll rest, they'll feed. And this time of year, you're starting to see the fish are kind of moving their way back south, because the fish in the spring of the year will go to the tributaries where they were born, basically. And the Heart River, for example, is one of the top 3 or 4 tributaries in the state of North Dakota for walleyes to spawn. And so that's why we get a lot of fish to move up into the Bismarck area, because they're going to go up the Heart River to spawn. And this time of year, it's post spawn, and they spawned quite a while ago, so they're starting to move back to their home area, let's say, which is going to be to the south, and they'll slowly, and then down towards, I don't think many of these fish will get down into South Dakota, because they've got their own spawning fish, but they'll get down to the Beaver Bay area, the Cattail Bay area, and Fort Yates and places like that, and that can stay good all summer long. It just kind of depends on where the bait is at. And the fish are looking really healthy on the river. If I was going to go out today and I'm in the Bismarck Mandan area, let's say, or I would, if I want to catch numbers of fish, I'd probably go south, the McLean Bottoms, Hazelton, Fort Rice, working my way maybe down to Beaver Bay area. There's a lot. The fish are smaller right now. You've got more males in the area. So you're looking at fish in the 14 to 17 inch range with some bigger ones mixed in. So it's just now if you're going to go up to the lake, if you're up in the Newtown area, the river up there is on fire. What's so nice about that area of Lake Sakakawea is you can catch fish in shallow water and deeper water, trolling crankbaits and spinners and jigs and whatever you want to do. As you work your way into the lake and say the Partial area, the Van Hook area, pitching jigs shallow, crankbaits can work. You want to target some of the bays, the structures, the points, the rocky points. As you work your way down to the eastern end, let's say the Douglas Bay area, the Stanky Bay area, or Beaver Bay area, then most people are pitching jigs or jigging in anywhere from 4 to 20 feet of water. The bite happens quicker farther west because the water's warmer. The fish spawn sooner. So once they're on the post spawn side of this, and those fish are starting to bite faster, and things are just starting to heat up. Let's say on the eastern end of this lake.
So what do you think about tournaments this year? Are they going to be happening, or are people going to be too scared about this COVID-19 stuff? Well,
the North Dakota Governor's Cup was canceled, which it's hard.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
It was, and there's been 3 of the tournaments that I was fishing have all been canceled so far. The Governor's Cup's a tough one because it's a tradition. I have to think here. I think this would have been my 33rd or 34th year in a row fishing the Governor's Cup with my dad. So it was tough for my dad.
Yeah.
Because it's a tradition. But like I told him last night, we're still going to be at the lake that whole week. We're still going to do something that week. This is not going to stop, because that was his concern. I said, no, we're still going to, this is our time together. The Dakota Walleye Classic, which you're more familiar with.
Yep.
That one, they posted something the other day, but there really wasn't an explanation. So I think a lot of us assumed it's a go. But now I've heard rumors that there's going to be more information in the next month. So I don't know about that one. Others I've heard out towards the west part of the state are going to go. I'm fishing one in a couple weeks up in Garrison. So this is a smaller tournament, up maximum of 100 teams. So that's going to go. But there's a lot of things that come into play. You can be on both sides of it, just like with anything else. It's what you believe. You can believe this group over here, or you can believe the group on this side, and they're all experts. And, it's just, it's the negative of the internet, I guess you'd say, right? So I can see.
You talk about the internet here. Very quick. We got 4 minutes here. Okay. I read something this morning that the key to catching any fish is to spray WD-40 on your bait.
You know, I've never done it, but even as a kid,
Have you heard
when we were,
this?
oh yes, I
Okay.
know people that used to do it. Now, whether they still do it, I don't know. This would have been before you had all these the Berkeley sprays that
Right,
they have on the market right now. You can buy frog scented and this scented. But I did know people and would watch people when we were salmon fishing, and they would spray WD-40 on their salmon, squids, or flies. And they said that it was that. I don't know if it worked or not, but yeah, I watch people do it. So I'm
Well,
the type of guy that washes my hands or all the time with no scent soap. Just if I mean, it's like if somebody sprays sunscreen in my boat, I'm like, oh, don't do that. My dad likes to have insect spray in the boat. I try to hide it. You know, it's like, oh, don't spray that in my boat.
You know,
But I'm that guy.
but you know the main ingredient in WD-40 is
What is it?
fish oil.
Well,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes sense
does.
if you look at that.
It-
But I'd never heard that. I saw that this morning posted on social media, and I was like, I have
Yeah,
to
well-
ask Jason about this.
I know a lot of people that used to do it when
Oh,
as
darn.
a kid growing up, they would do it. And I don't even know if that's legal or I don't know
That's
if
the
that's
thing,
like
yeah.
hazardous.
You got to check
I
your
never thought
local
about that
rules
part.
on that
So
because
I'm glad I did not say that I've ever done it because I haven't, but I don't hear about it anymore. Probably again because years ago the market was flooded with all these spray scents, and and I was watching one of my favorite bass fishermen growing up, Bill Dance. I don't know if you ever watched Bill Dance, but as a kid I watched him. He always wore his Tennessee hat, but just the other day he was spraying more spray on his. He was fishing for catfish.
Okay.
And I thought, holy mackerels, but I mean, he was dousing that bait. And, so it's kind of interesting that you bring it up. I've never used the sprays before. I have friends when they go to Lake Winnipeg, they use frog scented spray and they swear by it. And, I was like, sure. I don't know. I mean, why not? Maybe it's just WD-40 in a bottle, right? I don't know.
The company WD-40 just said, let's call this frog bait, and they just repackaged the same thing. And
Maybe that's why these ladies can catch so many fish. I think most of the makeup and lipstick on the market, I think, has fish scales in it. Don't tell that to somebody that's protesting fishing because that's another story. But yeah, 'cause sometimes. I've seen women that have been protesting fishing, and then they think they find out that some of their products that they were made from fish scales.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway.
I agree. That's a whole other story per person can get into on that.
And by the way, all the fish I release them all. They're all fine anyway.
Release every one of them.
Oh yeah, nothing. They don't get hurt.
No.
In fact, they enjoy it.
They keep coming back. Daryl says he sends me a text. He says the best way to catch fish is find the hungry ones.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Man, sometimes I can struggle. I sure struggle with that sometimes.
I bet if you dipped it in Daryl's racing pig grease, I bet that would get more fish coming in there.
It probably would. Exactly. I thought about. I don't know. I thought about putting some of my baits in the stinkiest dead minnows and put it in the freezer or whatever. I don't know. It's just, I have no idea. Who knows? And then you got somebody that doesn't know as much as somebody else, and they go catch all the fish anyway.
It's luck. Some of it's got to be a little bit of luck. I mean, I granted all the electronics and the baits and the tackle, all that stuff definitely helps out. There's no big deal. I understand that, but there's got to be a little bit of luck involved in it once in a while too.
Well, being in the right place at the right time when the fish are hungry is the biggest part of it. And like we were just talking, knowing where to go at a certain time of year is kind of key, because just yesterday I would see people fishing the way they would normally fish in July and fishing the same areas. Now, and I wondered to myself yesterday if they catch fish this time of year, and I think sometimes they will go back in thinking fishing wasn't any good, and then eventually July will come around and they'll be still doing the exact same thing and fishing will be great.
Yeah.
So
Jason, we're up against time. I thank so much for stay with me on the phone though a little bit here. I appreciate you coming on the radio side of things. Thank you so much.
Bet.
Jason Wright from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV. You can find more of their fishing stories actually on TV, and you can find them on Netflix. You can find them on Amazon Prime and the whole works like that too. Thanks for tuning in today. Again, Memorial Day weekend. Remember what it's all about. Have a good weekend. All right, radio stations, thank you so much for keeping me on. Have yourself a good one. Jason, we can If you have any more to add, we're still on YouTube, though, buddy.
Oh, wonderful. Like
Oh.
YouTube.
Gotta like it, man.
YouTube definitely helped out in our distant learning, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
no, yeah. So what's your plan for the weekend? Anything change for you?
Brandings. The one, the one today did get canceled, so I am going to play catch up. Depending on the rain situation, depending how wet it gets out here, but I'm going to play a little bit. I have branding. My branding's coming up on Friday, so I'm doing just kind of prepping things. I have to get all the vet stuff in order and make sure everything's organized and ready to go and panels set up and all that good thing. But yeah, isn't too big a deal. But I
was planning to be at the lake this weekend, but I had some last minute camper situations right when I'm pretty much getting it ready to go and hook up, and I had a water heater situation and then a leak in someplace else. So one of those things.
Hey,
campers I don't think are supposed to sit.
You're the first person in a long time I heard him call it the right way. Water heater.
Yes. What do most people call it?
Most people call it a hot water heater. If it's a hot water heater, you're already heating hot water.
Well, that's true.
It's a water heater.
Sometimes maybe I do call it a hot water heater, but I guess I call it a water heater. But yeah,
it's redundant.
Yeah, I had a part that's not. Well, let's put it this way: it's not heating the water right now. So,
you like that camping stuff? I mean, I
do.
See a lot
It's
of
weird.
that like that.
Well, I do. For me, it's not. I pretty much live at the lake in the summertime, so it becomes. I don't know. With me, it's kind of strange. This 9-month school year thing, it's always been difficult. I don't like ending. I don't like starting. I wish it was 12 months a year. I always have. I would love it. And so it's like when the school year ends, I'm all kind of confused. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like my routine just gets messed up, and I struggle creating a new one. And then I'll start camping, and it kind of like I struggle with this camping thing, And then once I get into the routine of it, then I'm just loving it. It's like you got to get a home set up someplace else, Yeah. And then of course our summers are quite short because usually we'll do some antelope hunting around the 15th of August. So when you think about it, you got June and July. Yep. Well, there's not a lot of time in June and July. Not that I can't camp, but if I want to do some hunting, and then school starts up again, and that's probably the downside for me of teaching would be just that. It's the stopping, the ending and the starting. I don't like it. I'd love everybody that I know.
Keep some consistency going on is what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. So when I hear about people, the redundance of going to their day jobs, I think, I don't know, it might be kind of nice, and you kind of always know what I don't know. It's just something. I like the teaching. I like the students. I enjoy the relationships. I like hearing their stories. And that's kind of the neat thing about this distant learning that has taken place is I actually built some relationships with some of my students that I didn't have necessarily before. And there's a couple of them that were doing a lot of turkey hunting this year that I didn't even know were into that. And so it was kind of fun to hear their story. And we would go back and forth in email. So the benefit of our young people being able to do some of this, so I don't know. There were some ups and there's some downs, and yeah, the COVID thing with me is I don't like it. No. I don't like anything that's gone on, and my beliefs are, I don't know if it's beliefs. I've chosen to continue to stay clear pretty much of people, primarily for my parents, to be honest with you, because my mom's had heart trouble. My dad, he had his pancreatic cancer a number of years ago, and they're both 74, 75. So I want to be able to do that kind of stuff with them, and I want them to be able to want to do it with me. Now my wife, she has patients that have, that are positive with the virus and stuff. So, but she's pretty careful. She's very careful. So you're probably safer to be around somebody that but so I don't like what it's done.
I don't either. Yeah.
I don't like hearing about it anymore, but. So
especially when it's got a success rate of 99.9% and the flu kills more people, but I think they pushed us out of proportion. I mean, I think they turned it into a political thing, and I'm tired of it.
I know, it's just, and if there's so many people that were affected, and it's so strange. I stopped at the liquor store yesterday, and I said, "Well, how are things going for you guys?" And he said, "It's like Christmas week every day."
COVID's turned everybody into alcoholics.
Well, but then you got the store next to him that can hardly keep the lights on.
Exactly.
So it's strange. We talked about how Mother Nature did things. And it's the I don't know, the companies and businesses that were just making do before. Some of them are just like they don't know what to do with all the money they've got.
Yeah.
And the ones that were doing so good and thought that their future was set, they're struggling. So as a teacher, I'm pretty thankful at this point to have been paid during this. I'm very lucky.
Absolutely.
My wife was able to continue working through this, and so I feel kind of guilty in a way, but we were lucky that way, and now I have a question for you.
Sure.
I've been seeing these things back to the internet on like the cost of hamburger. Now, what's going on in this world? Because I'm a little naive when it comes to some of this kind of stuff. Because I don't buy a lot of, I buy lots of steaks. Okay. But when it comes to hamburger, I usually have my own venison stuff, but I've seen some prices on the internet here and I don't know if they're true or not. So I'm just curious.
So the price wise, I know the price of beef has gone up. I've talked to a few people.
So has it gone up? So, okay. But are you benefiting from that yet?
No.
Okay.
No, what's happening right now, and that's a fight that we're having, is the cattle market prices for like myself, a cow calf producer. Since I don't have to sell anything until fall again, there are people that have cattle feeding out right now that usually go to the feeders right away. But anyway, the packing plants are the ones that are making just a shit ton of money off of this right now. And they're making the money because the big beef, scare and the COVID has kind of cleaned a lot of these shelves out and everything. So they're not paying us anymore for, the actual critter, but yet on the other end, they're charging the grocery stores a lot more in order to get that, supply and demand.
Okay.
So it's not trickling down at all. And that's why some cattle organizations are asking the Trump administration to do an investigation into these packing plants. And the hard thing about it is the top 4 meat packing plants are pretty much predominantly 80% owned by out of country owners.
Sure.
So that's, it's a tough time right now in the cattle business. There's no doubt about it. But
so again, it's like some people are making the money out of this when the others are hurting again.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's kind of, and unfortunately, farmers and ranchers, oh man, there's just been no light at the end of the tunnel here. And it doesn't matter what things have been lately. And
the thing about it is, whether you're farming or ranching, the input costs never go down. They continuously, fertilizer and seed and chemical, and that continues to go up. On the ranching side, I probably put less into my cattle than a lot of people because we have an abundance of grass to graze on.
Sure.
And we had an open winter, so we didn't have to feed as heavy as we usually do. But, still the cost of everything that we're putting in to the organization, any cattle, it never goes down. If the price of cattle go down, the input costs still are there or probably higher, so it is definitely an education on budgeting. There's no doubt about that. But and a lot of us have to do side jobs. I got my radio thing here. My wife works in town. We have to do that in order to survive.
The problem with farming and ranching is, unfortunately, there's a lot to be done if you're doing it full time. And then it's a little different than being a school teacher. It's still full time, but the day comes to an end. I mean, yes, we still have work that needs to be done in the evening, but we can go to another job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your job may not be on the clock, if that makes sense. There's where the problem is. That's where I see the problem is. In my relatives, most of them all were farmers, and in most of the ladies, they taught school or did something with the school or the churches, and the husbands and the kids did the farming piece of it. I'm not saying the moms didn't. I'm sure they did way more than their share, of course. Don't get me wrong,
right?
But those were different times, I guess, but and
I think that's a big thing, like you said too, the times that I think that the most difficulty is, that you're always going to have prices going up and down. But I think the hardest thing for any agribusiness to deal with is the uneducated people that are making presumptions that American food isn't safe, or we mistreat our animals, or just there's so much of that going into the the bigger city areas, the more urban areas. There's all of that type of thought process going on, to where we, they don't understand. A lot of them don't understand where their food comes from. They think it's a grocery store. I saw that picture of that lady holding up in front of the dairy section, in front of milk. She had a picture of a cow. It says, murdering me for, why would you murder me for milk? And it's like, they don't understand how you get milk. Evidently you don't kill a cow to get it, you know what I mean? It's, that type of uneducated people that we're having to fight with every single day. And, we could do a better job educating people. I really think we could. I think our checkoff dollars need to be more spent on a little bit more in your face advertising about what we do and how good we take care of things, how good it is for the wildlife. I mean, what we're doing compared to the 80s, when my dad, was going through the drought in the 80s, to now.
Yep.
It's completely different. I mean, the farming tactics and the ranching tactics are completely different. And, the ground is better. The soil conditions are better. The habitat is better. And, if we want grass for our cows, and the more grass and the better habitat we have and vegetation, the more the wildlife is going to, increase on that too. And then that's the thing is, there's a lot of wildlife organizations that are not pro-egg friendly.
I wonder too, sometimes
too, we're fighting those guys too.
Exactly. I wonder if we've phased out certain generations, even our generation, Scott, though. I wonder if they didn't see some of what was going on and what did happen, and what the older generations did. Those farmers and ranchers did, though, and more people have started to participate in the outdoors, for example, but they maybe didn't have as many relatives either that were farming and ranching.
Right.
All mine were. That's what they did.
And that's another thing is everybody's getting so far removed from knowing anybody in the agricultural business.
Yeah.
That I mean, a lot of city kids. I mean, their grandparents. That's what they did in the summertime. They'd probably go help them in the summertime. Doesn't happen anymore. It really doesn't.
Well, that's what my dad and I would do when I was quite young, before my dad got into, let's say, fishing. But he would go up to Candu, North Dakota, and we would help my uncle, farm. And then once he kind of, my dad just, I don't know, I guess we quit doing it, and Dad started shingling in the summer and painting. And then when we weren't painting or shingling, then we'd fish, But I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. Last year, Kurt had given me a package of venison that he wasn't sure about the taste of it. And I said, well, sometimes if you mix beef tallow in, it gives it a different flavor, and that might be what you're tasting. And so he gave me a package, and I was reluctant to try it. And then I was going to the ranch one weekend in December by myself, so I thought, well, I'll take it. It'd be a great place to try this. So I had a pound of his hamburger that supposedly was venison, and so I made 2 giant hamburgers, steak hamburgers out of it, and I seasoned it up, put it on the iron skillet, and oh man, it looked delicious. And I was skeptical and took a bite of it, and I thought, holy mackerels, if this is venison, whatever you did to it, I want this. I texted him and I said, I don't know what you did to your venison, and I don't understand where you think there's a problem here. That's the best hamburger I've ever had in my life. And he replies back, he must have been sleeping. It was 10:30. He replies back, send me a picture of the package. Well, here he was hoarding some beef that he had gotten from a local producer,
Oh.
because it was a special package because it's so good. And he said, he said, I gave you the last few packages of my beef. Okay, that was the triggering point. For a lot of years when I was younger, my uncle would always get us beef from Devil's Lake area. Yeah. From a friend of his, and it was always the best ever. Oh, the best. Well, then, I started shooting more deer and stuff when they had doe seasons. And so that's all I ever have for hamburger is venison.
Right.
Until I ate that hamburger, which was not venison. And that turned me into the whole point of my story is here. Local beef is so good. Oh my gosh.
And there is a resurgence in some people now looking for local producers and buying beef from them. But, you know, for somebody like myself, in order to take an animal and feed it up until it is at the
Yes.
proper weight to do that, I don't have the facilities or the feed to be able to do that. I mean, it would be one very expensive animal by the time for somebody
Yes,
like me.
no.
Other people are set up, they got more farm country. We don't have any farm country,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everybody says, oh, then you could do grass, well, you can't in the wintertime. You got to feed them something. But,
Yeah, exactly. The point is, I guess, though, our local beef is really good.
It is.
And because it's just you can't find it in the shelves that tastes like that.
No.
So it's just.
I got a whole new
and
thing
it's
I'm going to do
disappointing.
this summer for my next butcher. I'm AIing some of my older cows that are going to be probably called out anyway. I'm going to AI them to Wagyu beef bulls. And have you ever heard of Wagyu beef?
Yes, but I don't know much about it.
It's like the most expensive, best tasting thing you'll ever have in your life. So good.
Really?
And so I'm gonna AI like I don't know. I think I got like 6 or 7 of these cull cows I'm gonna do, and whatever comes back, I'm not gonna put a bull with them. Whatever's bred up, I'm gonna keep, calve it out, and that is going to be my butcher. And start working in some of that Wagyu beef into the butchering side of my herd.
No, that sounds like a good
To
deal.
look forward to that. But hey, I better let you run here, man. I got a few things I got to continue to do yet this morning. And
yeah, well, great. It was awesome chatting with you.
You bet. Well, you
Appreciate
have
it, like
yourself.
always.
You bet. Have yourself a good day.
Call anytime. I will. I'm going to look at the